to do and really not properly exfoliating. So when you have dead skin cells, what it does is it actually restricts and it blocks the pore from being able to grow. So it's really good to always start with the brow facial. In fact, we have, how many of you guys retail products in your salons? That's it? Okay, I think that should be more, because that's so easy for you to sell things to your clients. You know, one of the things that I learned from being in this industry so long is that if your clients love you and they want to support you, they will buy everything. You know, as estheticians, what I find is we're always recommending products to our clients, and what do? They turn around and they support Sephora. Yep. You should have it ready to go, right? This opportunity. But anyways, we have the brow facial kit that's actually more for clients too. So you can buy it for $30 and then you retail it for $60. So it's a really good margin, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, and it doesn't look like she had any makeup, but if she did, I would probably repeat this process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some witch hazel and I'm just going to go over it once, just to degrease and cleanse. Right? So actually, can I do before and after too? How many of you guys are doing before and afters for your clients? It's one of the best things to do, just because clients, you know, anytime that clients are shopping for you, shopping for our service, they're always going to be watching your stuff. And, you know, even if they're not ready to book, you never know the one client is going to be like, oh, she looks like she has eyebrows, we can't book her, right? So it's so important to always show before and after, right? So now that we've cleansed the brows, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the first step, which is perm, okay? The processing time for perm is 10 to 15 minutes. So 10 minutes if the brows are fine, 15 minutes if the brows are coarse. So based on that, what would we say about her hair texture? Now we're not looking at the thickness of the brows, we're actually looking at the individual hair strand. What do we think?
Thick.
I would say it's actually more like a medium, right? So fine hair texture is going to be not as shiny. It's going to be like a little bit more dull, right? And it's going to, when you comb it, it's going to like be very receptive to combing. So I would actually say that her hair is more like a medium. So if it's medium and 10 to 15 minutes is the scale, what do you think we should do?
12.
About 12 or 13, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brow spoolie first, and I'm going to load my firming solution onto my brush, and then we're going to start to place it onto the brows. Now, within the firm step, there are 3 S's. The 3 S's are saturate, smooth, and separate. Okay? You have to achieve each S before you move on to the next S. Otherwise, you won't get a flat lay. Okay? And there's some thought behind this. So first, we start with saturating the brows. Now, why is it so important to saturate the brows? Because if you don't have enough product, you're obviously not going to get the results that you're looking for. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a little bit and on my brow spoolie, and I'm just going to put it on just like a toothpaste brush, on like a toothbrush, and then I'm just going to comb it on. Right. So now that I put it on with my spoolie, I'm going to start my time. And again, what time are we shooting for again? 12 minutes, right? So how do we know when we have enough product on the brows? Well, we're going to do the squish test. And as soon as we get the plastic wrap, I'll show you guys what that is. Might be the toolbox section. Hey guys, this is real life. Like I literally I've been at my celebrity client's house and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my trash bag, my plastic bag, and we're going to work. Do what you got to do, right? Of course, we want our clients to relax and just be chill. But it's so many times we're just like that. You're like, see, if you're a solution-oriented person and if you're committed to giving your clients the results with whatever that you have, then you'll always have good results. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to take my plastic wrap and I'm going to place it onto the brows. Actually, since that came up, I actually have to tell you guys a really funny story. So I was at a really big celebrity's house, someone that's a really big actor, someone that we've known I start to do it. Anyway, we lit a candle, we lit a candle, and so, you know, I always like to create an experience when I come to the events, right? So I like to get the candle going and everything too. And then what I didn't notice is that when I tossed my cotton around, it went right into the candle. So that was interesting. There was a fire happening here. Okay, so getting back to the service. So how do we know when we have enough product on the route? Well, you're going to want to do the squish test, okay? So what is the squish test? When we touch here, we want to feel squish. If we ever feel strands or hair strands, that means that we need a little bit more. So can I have you come up? And then I don't know if you want to hop up. Okay, so I'm going to have you do a squish test and tell me if you're feeling squish or strand. Squish. It's a little harder to find this. So I'm noticing, see how right here it's a little bit drier? See how you can see more of the strand? I'm probably going to take a little bit and I'm just going to add it to that area and see if the percent is going to help me to do that. So this is why we say it's good for 20 to 40 uses. If you have a client, if you're working on all fine brows, you will probably be closer to the 40. If you're working on more thicker brows, it'll be closer to 20. See how it's more saturated? I'm going to actually just get a little bit more of the add right here, so I'm noticing like here to use a little bit more. Okay, perfect. That's how we're going to do the first test. Oh yeah, okay, so our first S was saturate. Our second S is going to be smooth, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer off of my brow spoolie here, and I'm going to transfer onto a lip one. Now, why am I transferring onto a lip one? Well, first of all, I don't want to waste any product, right? Because we are business owners, and this means that we're missing out on another client, right? So I'm going to take the product off of my spoolie here, and I'm going to put it onto my brow smoother. Also, as time goes on, and what time are we shooting for again? 13 minutes, right? So as time goes on, what happens to the skin if chemicals on it? It's more sensitive, right? It becomes more sensitized. So what is the texture of a brow spoolie? Rough. It's coarse, right? So what can happen is we can create micro abrasions on the skin, and we can actually create little cuts. So that's when you want to drop this. And really, it should just be used in the first 1 to 2 minutes, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to start. Now, smoothing is really where we're going to spend most of our time. And what you'll see is that I'll get in here and then I'll start to really lay the brows so they have that really nice wave. So it'll go up in the front, more sideways, and then tuck the tail. Okay? How many of you guys have seen those Instagram brows that look like they're shot?
Yeah.
Right? We don't want that. So what we want to do is we want to comb upward, we want to comb sideways, we want to comb downward, and always tuck the tails. So even if you have more of an edgy girl that says, like, I want the craziest, wildest brows, right? We're always going to tuck the tails because brow tails are really not meant to be pushed out that way. You can create tension and breakage for the tails. You almost kind of want to follow the natural shape of where it goes, you know, naturally, and on the tails. Okay, so what you'll see is you'll see me lift up here, and then I'll lift up on the other side over this way. I'll come up, sideways, down, and more sideways. Now, one of the things that, how many of you guys have ever used a brow lamination system that requires glue? Okay. Yeah, big yes, right? The reason that they require you to use glue is because you want to glue down the brows and not touch the brows in between because the chemical is so strong. But one of the benefits of having something that's more aloe-based, that's more gentle, is that you can actually get in there and you can really comb every hair unit in one uniform direction, which is awesome. Okay. So I'm going to comb up, sideways, and then more. I'm going to tuck the tails. So when it comes to the first S with saturate, how do we know when we had enough product? Let's do a little review. Squish test, right? So how do we know when we have the smoothness of the brow? Well, first of all, one is that you want to visually see everything line up, right? You want it to go go sideways, and then you want it to go down. But also when you're lifting your plastic wrap, no hair should come up with it. Okay, so that's a good way to tell. And right now we're at 6 minutes, which is about the halfway mark. I'm going to come up, sideways, down, and more sideways. So I don't know if you guys can see this right here. See this little patch of hair, that little density right here, right here? So that, I'm noting that because what that means is that I want to break that up a little bit. It's a little density patch, okay? So can I leave it like this and to make sure that her brow's going to laminate, and is that going to interfere with the lamination? Not really, right? But we're not out here to just do an okay job. We're out here to do the best, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually break up this density patch here by using my spoolie, and then I'm going to come it sideways and then downward. Okay, see how that broke that up? So even if it's not exactly where I want it to be right now, I'm breaking it up because I want it to just lay a little bit flatter. We're at about the 8-minute mark right now. So again, I'm going to comb up, side, down, and this way. So I have some students, you know, we have, because we're the brand, we get a lot of really funny emails, or we get like some emails that are also really legit too. But we got this email recently about this student that was not getting the results on the right side of the brow. Every client that she worked on, it was the right side of the brow. And I'm thinking like, okay, that's a little weird, right? So I was just going down the list. Are you doing the 3 S's? Yes. Are you doing the processing time? Yes. Okay. And then I thought, why are you not able to access your right side, right? And I was like, can you show me a picture of where you're working? And what I saw is that her table was pushed all the way against the wall. So however you're working, and by now I have done brows on a couch, on a bed, in a car, right? I'm not joking. However you're working, you have to make sure that you have full accessibility around the brow. So if you need to go around this way, and if you need to comb this way, make sure that you carve out some space here for yourself. So I have people like, do you prefer brow chairs or do you prefer massage tables? I think either is fine, just as long as you have full mobility around it. Right? Because you really do need to look at it from all areas. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question, but I don't know if you said it before. I want to say, like, if someone's doing a wax, would you do it before or after?
So you'll always want to do your wax afterwards. Why? Because waxing is a form of exfoliation. And remember that exfoliation is contraindicated, right? So what happens in the brow lamination process is that we raise the pH levels with the firming solution. And as we get closer to the full processing time is when we raise the pH levels. And then once we put the neutralize on is when it starts to come down again. So when we raise the pH and then we bring it down, is then when we'll do the wax. Yes? Well, so it's, the question is, what tools do I use? I use the brow spoolie for saturate. I use the lip wand for smooth. And then for separating, you're going to see me use the brow separating wand. And I pretty much only stick to that because I feel like each one does its intended thing. And I feel like if you don't want to use the lip wand, just make sure that you're using something smooth. One of our educators in Florida, his name is Beyonce, has her own line of silicone brushes, which is totally fine to use during the smooth step. Yeah. Yes?
My question is for the model. Is she still doing anything right now for the product on her brow?
Not really. What's your tingle level? 1 being mild, 5 being super strong. 1. Yes?
How long does the lamination last?
Laminations last 4 to 6 weeks. 4 weeks if you're doing, 4 weeks if the brows are super, super coarse. And that's another thing too. So I have so many people that are like, my brows are so coarse. I once did a brow lamination on someone that was in their 70s. That was very, 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 very coarse. Is he going to get an amazing result from getting a brow lamination? Of course. But is it going to be someone that has like a fine or medium brow? Maybe not the same, right? But I always think it's important careful to set the expectation when it comes to your client. If you have someone that's very, very coarse, you're going to always say, you're going to get a really nice brow lamination, but I'm going to encourage you to just come back every 6 weeks because the results are cumulative. Okay? I'm really big about under-promising, over-delivering also. You know, I think it's good to be realistic with your clients. Like I said, this is going to be a really great service for you, but if you keep coming back every 6 weeks, eventually your brows will become more obtained in the long run. Yes.
Would you do a facial before or after?
Separate days. Yeah. Why? Who can tell me why we think we do facial separate days? Brows can be wet. Also, why else? Exfoliation, enzymes, right? So yeah, you would do separate days. You could do a brow wax and a facial. In fact, that was like one of my #1 services. Especially if you're using the sculpting brow wax, and you're going to see my new wax. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Would you do a tint in the same day?
You can do a tint on the same day, yes. So you would do a tint after neutralizing and deactivating. In fact, a note about deactivation. So if you ever have a client, and I'm coming up, hold on 1 second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer onto my third S. So first S was what? Saturate, right? Second S was remove. Now we're going to move on to our third S, which is separate. Okay. Now I think separate is really going to be your optional step. For me, I like the way that it looks when everything is separated. But if you ever have a client that wants those beautiful feathery brows, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comb it through just once, so I'm close to like the last minute. And I'm just going to let it process just for the last minute. See how that really separates everything and makes it look a lot more wispy? So I would say that's more of like a style preference. Okay. So now we're coming up on, we're about 20 seconds away from 13 minutes. So obviously if you're someone that gets distracted, just keep your wits about you, okay? At least for step 1, because you really do have to keep your wits about you, because then you can over-process the brows. Not that you're going to really over-process the brows unless you go over 15 minutes, but honestly, when we were doing testing, I took it up to 20. No, I should not be saying this. But no, you never want to take it over 15 minutes. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the firming solution. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a dry cotton round and I'm going to remove it. Now, the reason that I want to use a dry cotton round, and this will always help you remember, the way to deactivate a brow lamination. So let's just say for some reason you've done all your consent forms, she's not contraindicated, she's not allergic to anything that she doesn't know, she's like, it's burning, it's burning, it's burning. What I would say is, first of all, is it burning or is it tingling? Because burning is not normal, tingling is. Okay, so if she says it's burning, what you could do is you can take them, you can use wet, I was going to say wet water. Water is wet. You can take water on your cotton rounds and then you can flush everything. Water will completely deactivate everything. So I'm not ready to deactivate yet because I am going to neutralize. So really what perming does is it breaks down the inner protein chains of the hair. And now what we're going to do with the neutralizer is it does just that. It neutralizes the solution, tells it to stop working, and it really locks the position into place. So, you know, with the firming solution, we were combing and combing and combing. With neutralizing, it's not needed. You want to use a brow spoolie, and obviously because we're at the top of our processing time right now, you just want to make sure that you are being very gentle. I'm using a brow spoolie because I want to make sure that I get into every row of hair, which is why I'm using a brow spoolie. Okay? Now, the processing time for the neutralizer is 6 to 8 minutes. So 6 minutes if the brows are fine, 7 minutes if the brows are medium, 8 minutes if the brows are coarse. So based on that, what time would we use for processing here? 7, exactly. Now let's say, for instance, and you guys saw that little area of density that we were working on, we were able to break it up. But let's say that we weren't able to, and we really wanted to just lay it a little bit more, and I ended up having to push her medium brows to a coarse time. See how easy it is with the plastic brow? So let's say that I had to take her medium brows to a coarse brow. What that would mean is because I used the coarse timing, that I would use a coarse timing for neutralizer. You guys get that? Okay, cool. So now what we're doing for this is we're taking it for 7 minutes. All right. Now during this time, there's a number of things that you can do. One is that you can do nothing. Right? Another thing is that you can use a microfiber cloth over your client's eyes, so that way they can just chill, take a nap. Or third, you can do the crown chakra massage, which is something that we've become known for. So while I'm doing that, I'll take any more questions. And what I'm doing to prep for my crown chakra massage is I'm going to lift the plastic wrap, and then I'm going to take my crown chakra oil. Now this is something that we have on the site, and it's an all-natural organic blend of really nice essential oils that create a really nice experience. So I think if you can do things that set you apart as an esthetician, like, can I do nothing? Of course I can. Is she still going to pay me? Of course. But when you can do the surprise little things is what I consider luxury, you know? And how many of you guys have ever shopped at Louis Vuitton and you're just looking and they offer you a glass of champagne, right?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not expected, but something that's extra, right? I recently had a client that was actually that is pregnant, actually, and she came in for brow lamination. She's one of these LA girls that are like, I need my brows done before before I have my baby, right? And rather than doing the crown chakra massage, I actually gave her a foot rub. And I feel like it's something, you know, it's a case-by-case situation, and when you can do something nice with a hand massage, that's something that I love to do in patients too. But really, I think estheticians, the good beauty professionals, are the ones that are able to connect with people, obviously connect on a normal basis, but also connect with touch too. It's so powerful. You know, you never know how many people just need to be touched. And I think that, you know, today, and not to get too woo on you, but today I just feel like so many people just are lacking touch. I feel like that's something that sets you apart. It's your personality, it's your thoroughness, and it's your touch. Anybody have any other questions? How does the crown chakra massage? Yes, back there.
So earlier you said about 12 minutes for her brows, but if she's a regular client coming in every 4 to 6 weeks, would you lower that time frame a little bit, or would you still keep it to 12 because it will thicken in your hair?
That's a really good question, actually. Well, remember that results are cumulative. So what you'll notice if you have a client that's a regular that gets brow lamination, you'll notice the 3 S's. You'll be able to check those off sometimes a lot quicker. But I also want to say that you should do brow lamination every 6 weeks, because what's happening every 6 weeks? Growth cycle, hair growth cycle, right? So if you do it within the 6 weeks, you actually run the risk of double processing. So the hair is not fully grown out. So you just want to make sure that you're doing a minimum of every 6 weeks. So because it is a new, fresh set of brows, essentially, with the hairs, it may or may not react the way that you're looking for. But this is also why we do the 3 S's, because you know what you're looking for, right? So you know that if you're using enough product, you have the saturate. You know that you have enough, if you're smoothing it, you'll be able to see those results happen a lot quicker, right? So that's why it's so important. Like, it's not just about the processing time. The processing time is where we start, but really we're looking for these visual things, you know? If we get it to lay down really flat, then, then that's a good brow lamination. And if it's working on more of like a medium hair, and we're actually getting the results that we want at a fine texture, then that's when you would kind of tailor. And that's why we have the 3 S's. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a clientele, and most of my clientele is mature, where when the eyebrows, after a while, they get white. And as you get older, I'm over 70. So I'm just saying, would the perm have any effect on that? Because I'm using the pencil. Like my question is, can you use the eyebrow pencil after perming the lashes? Would it have any type of effect?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm fighting the white in sometime if I perm too. Well, can I go behind it with eyebrow pencil? Because most of the time you're showing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can't do any makeup after. You can do any makeup after 24 hours. 24 hours, you can kind of.
Okay, so the pencil goes for some kind of
But that would actually be a good. Your client would actually be a good candidate for tinting also. So that's something that I like to tell my clients too that are more mature and have white hair is don't ever pluck them, because what's the characteristic of a white hair? Coarse, stubborn, right? So because it's coarse, what ends up happening is when we tweeze them, it leaves a hole in the brow. So that's actually a really good reason to tint the brows.
So that would have no effect on the perm. It would change it.
time that it has an effect on brows is when they're pre-tinted and you laminate the brows, you'll see the colors start to lift and maybe turn a little orange, but it'll come back down as the pH level comes down. You may have to retint again because it will
Because with me, I have to use a pencil to cover the light for sometimes. Yeah. That they, but still.
tinted brow gel, what else do you use? Yeah, rather than a pencil. With pencil, I like to use more for like spots, like holes in the brows, but a tinted brow gel will be good.
Yeah. And that's temporary, that's okay.
Yes, in the back.
Do you carry any contained products?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, I've been testing for a long time, but I'm a perfectionist.
Is there any
No.
that you recommend that works really good with your line or
I personally love brow coat. Brow coat is my favorite just because it's neutral. And I know a lot of brands will have like cool or warm, but I like to be neutral because brows really need neutralizing, you know, especially in LA when we have so much sun, it changes the color very warm and some parts can be very cool. So I like something that's like a neutral kind of color. We're coming up on 7 minutes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cotton rounds and I'm going to deactivate. Now how are we deactivating? With water. Exactly. So I'm going to remove my plastic wrap and I'm going to trash it. And you notice that when I'm removing solutions, I'm still removing in the direction that I want the brows to go, okay? So this is always kind of like the nerve-wracking part. Like, did you get it? So now that I wet the brows, what I'm doing is I'm taking a dry cotton round. Why am I taking a dry cotton round? Because I'm going to start by trimming the brows. And we never want to trim any brows that are wet because what happens when the brows are wet? They do shrink, yeah, but then they also clump together, right? So you just want to make sure that you dry them as best as possible. Now, I know a lot of people that like kind of that fluffy look. I have so many clients that are like, I want as big as possible, right? So if you want someone that wants feathery brows, normally feathery means that it's less trimming. If you have someone that likes something that's a little bit more precise, in LA, all the girls right now want a baby lam, which is basically like just laminating the front and everything else super sleek. Then we're seeing thin brows come back. I hate to say it, but we're seeing thin brows come back. Is it for everybody? No. Is it important that we follow trends in brow artists? No. Is it important for us to know what's happening? I think so. And I think it's also kind of fun to see what's happening. There's always like a swinging pendulum when it comes to beauty, right? I think trends educate us, they don't define us. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually start by trimming the brows. So I'm going to comb upward. And the brows actually look pretty trimmed, so I don't think I'm going to trim too much. But if I had asked, how do you normally like your brows? Do you like them like pretty like tidy, or do you like them more like fluffy, feathery? I'm asking her as I'm already Okay. So this is exactly what we want our client to be. She said she trusts me. So many of my clients just know. You know, obviously we have super picky clients, right? And I think that as estheticians, if we're able to fulfill all of their requests, that's what makes us good service providers. But now I'm at a point in my career where I've shown so much of my work and so much of myself that any prospective clients know exactly what they're walking into. And 99% of my clients are like, whatever you think. And that's exactly what we have to do. And that's not to, like, I'm not shooting my own horn, but I'm just saying that this is exactly what we want as beauty professionals, to show ourselves and be so true online and on your social media that they know your work, they know who you are, that when you come in, they let you do your thing.
Do you ever brow match?
Yes, I love to do it.
Oh, nice.
I always start by trimming because I feel like trimming is really where the shape starts to happen. Alright, so now what I'm doing is I'm going to take my brow mapping pen and I'm just going to trace the bottom. So think of like where our brow highlight is, and that's kind of like the shape that we're starting with. Now, I love brow mapping because not only is it a good tool for us as brow artists to help us decide where we're going to map the brows, but it's also a really good way for us to communicate to our clients what we're going to remove, right? Because, you know, in consultation, and even when I'm doing a classic brow shaping, I'll always do a brow mapping. And by this time, I've done so many brows that I can literally look at someone for 1 second and be like, boom, do your brows, do your brows, do your brows, right? But what difference does it make if I can't communicate to my client what I'm going to do to them, right? So what's amazing about doing a brow mapping is not only is it good and it's really a rough job for us, but it also helps to communicate with our clients what exactly we're going to do to their brows. So that's why I think it's also a time saver, you know? If you're ever going to work on a client, I could be here in my consultation and be like, so I think what we're going to do, we're going to go up here, and your client's not listening, right? They're like, oh my god, it smells so good in here. So that's why it's always best to just show your client what you're going to do on that before you do it, right? So you guys notice that I'm only mapping the bottom. Why am I only mapping the bottom? Because I want the top to be super fluffy, and the way that you would wax laminated brows is a little bit different than you would wax a normal brow sheet. Okay? So now I'm going to be taking this sculpting brow wax. I have to show you guys again. So this is the sculpting brow wax. It's the industry's first brow-specific wax. So it's made for brow artists, for brows. So we all know that brows, they're like, it's for fine hair, it's for medium hair, it's for dry skin, but there's never really been one specifically for brows. So I got the opportunity to work with Maturity Pro, which is a brand that I work very closely with, and I said, we need a brow wax. We need something for brows. You know, as a lamination artist, the brows are a lot more sensitive, so we need something that's going to be gentle but still do the job. So that's really, I got the opportunity to work with Maturity Pro, and it's a collab product. And it's really one of the first products with an esthetician name on it. So,
yay!
Very cool.